35 years ago, I was in high school in Newberg, Oregon, traveling up to the gorge to take photographs of waterfalls and vistas. I was really into photography back then, and I loved to come to the gorge to take photos. I had no idea that there was a race going on to preserve and to protect the land.
You can see that while the income and expenses have varied considerably over the last 11 years, Friends has significantly increased the total net assets of the organization from slightly under $713,000 in 2003 to $14.1 million in 2013 and 14. Consistent with our mission in protecting the gorge, approximately $9.4 million of that $14 million is in lands or in funds that are dedicated to purchasing lands and stewardship of those lands. That's due to you, our members, and your generous support. You've built a solid foundation for Friends, and I would encourage you to continue your strong support. We've major challenges ahead, no question about it, as we begin the next 35 years of protecting the wild and scenic Columbia River Gorge.
In the last few years, I would often get comments from people that would talk about the strength of this organization, and it was sort of outstretched compared to the size of the organization. We're not really that big, but many people out there feel that we're incredibly powerful. What's powerful is this, that we have all of these connections and we're working in concert with so many folks. That's where the power really comes. A few years ago, at an annual meeting like this, we launched Gorge Towns to Trails. And this is the idea of a loop trail that wraps around the Columbia Gorge, enhancing recreation, creating land corridors for people and wildlife, and supporting the economies of the gorge communities. The idea of a town-to-town European-style trekking was originally just ours, but now we have over 100 supporters and partners, from bed and breakfasts to orchards to recreation guides, wineries, and breweries, committed to moving this idea forward. Friends is focusing on 3 trail segments that could encompass 66 miles of trail from Washougal to Stevenson, Hood River to the Dalles, and Lyle Cherry Orchard. Now, currently, 93% of that connection is already in place. That doesn't mean trails are in place, but it means that the land connections are there in 93% of those zones. Now, in the Columbia Gorge, we have wild areas that we can keep wild. We have damaged areas we can ecologically restore. We have not so wild areas like orchards and wineries that can be part of the recreation mix. And we have people, committed people, who don't simply see the gorge as beautiful. They see it as a place that they passionately, fervently love. The same kind of love a parent has for a child. That's how we ensure a future where gorge recreation feeds the soul without eating away at the very thing we treasure.
20 years ago, or even 10 years ago, we could have never imagined that fossil fuel development occurring 1,000 miles away from the gorge would actually threaten gorge resources and everything that this organization has fought so hard to protect for 35 years. But that is the case, and it's because the Columbia River Gorge is the only sea level passage through the Cascade Mountains, and that gives rise to its incredible scenic beauty, its ecosystem diversity, but also means it's a very economical way to transport fossil fuels to ports in the Northwest. The gorge is ground zero for fossil fuel development in North America, whether it's Alberta tar sands, the Bakken oil fields in North Dakota, the Powder River Basin in Montana and Wyoming, or in Utah and Colorado, the fracking fields. There's tar sands and oil shale there. The most likely route to ports, proposed terminals, and refineries in the Northwest is through the Columbia River Gorge National Scenic Area. Because of the explosion of oil development in the Bakken oil fields and also tar sands in Alberta, the gorge again is really ground zero for oil transportation. There are 11 proposed oil terminals in the Northwest. All would likely transport oil by rail through the Columbia River Gorge National Scenic Area. The largest of these proposals is in Vancouver. The Tesoro Savage project would be 360,000 barrels of oil per day. This is the largest proposed oil by rail terminal in the United States, located on the Columbia River. Again, all of this would go through the gorge. Department of Transportation said a couple of weeks ago that we could expect 10 to 15 oil train accidents per year. So this is a very real, clear, and present danger to all of our communities in the Columbia River Gorge. Something that all of you can help with, you have, in your packet you can't miss a card like that. I don't know if you can see it. It's a big fireball from an exploding oil train. On the back of it, we're asking that everyone fill this out and to check off the box that says, I will attend a hearing. Because this summer we anticipate a hearing in Vancouver on this giant Tesoro project, the biggest oil by rail project in the nation, to comment on the draft environmental impact statement. And to meet this threat, whether it's Tesoro or the bigger issue, we need to build an army of people that will write letters, that will contact their elected officials, and that will show up at hearings and demand in unison that you do not endanger our communities with oil by rail, with these terminals. We demand safe communities. We demand protection of our national assets like the Columbia River Gorge National Scenic Area.